Oop wonders, WIBTA if I kicked my 16-year-old daughter out for not turning appliances off? I am not op. Original post by you, Fit Understanding 9982 in R. Am I the asshole? Trigger warnings. None. Mood spoilers. Optimistic. Less than. I've never tried to post here before. This is pretty recent and the updates were within the same day. But I thought they were interesting and changed the story a lot. I feel like I've seen this kind of thing on here before. But apologies if the content isn't right for this sub. Tell me. I'll learn. I have broken up long paragraphs written by op here and there. An NBSP. WIBTA if I kicked my daughter out for not turning appliances off? September 19, 2022. An NBSP. Throwaway. A little background information. I, 37F, had my 16F while still in college. My parents felt I was too young to and too broke to raise her, so they raised her. They took on the roles of her parents, and her father has never been in the picture, so I was grateful, and although she knows I'm her mother, she sees me as a sister. I try my best to make sure she lives comfortably and has everything she needs, but really, there's only so much I can do since my parents are capable enough and I appreciate them. The conflict started when she came to stay over at my place 2 weeks ago to try and bond as mother and daughter. I'll be honest, I've always wanted this, but she didn't. She only came because my parents asked her to. She's a darling for the most part, but she leaves every appliance she uses on. If she enters a room and turns on the lights, she will leave it on too. It's quite irritating, and I tried to talk to her about it. She laughed it off every time and told stories about her bad memory and what she forgot to turn off at so-and-so's house. Part of me thinks she's doing it to vex me. I honestly have no problem turning lights off when she leaves rooms, but my house is never lacking in kids. I have none myself apart from my daughter, but my friends and neighbors often drop theirs over for me to watch them, and I love them. Yesterday, my daughter went out with friends and left the electric iron on, and I only found out when my neighbor's kid, F10, told me the iron is hot. Needless to say, I was furious. I went off on my daughter when she came back and reminded her that kids like to poke at sockets and the iron could have caused an injury. Besides, it's a fire hazard. She said okay, sorry, and she would try to remember, only to leave it on again this morning. The plan was to stay for 2 months, and it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm reconsidering it. My friend thinks sending her back will blow up the only chance at bonding. So will I be the asshole if I send her back to my parents and banned her from my house regardless? An NBSP. An important comment by op. An NBSP. I met her for the first time when she was 11. My parents didn't let me meet her earlier. We only meet during Christmas and her birthdays since then. Their rules. And have only stayed in the same house for more than a day recently. An NBSP. First update, edit. Within 2 hours of the post. An NBSP. ETA info for those calling me a bad mother for giving her away. I did not choose this. They took her. It was a whole court case that ruled in my parents' favor because they had money and I was still in college. They have been great grandparents and they have the right to decide whether or not I get to see her. And they only allowed me to meet her when she was 11 and stay with her recently. She also doesn't forget anywhere else. Just at my place. An NBSP. A later comment by op giving more detail. An NBSP. It doesn't matter anymore since we talked it out and I'm being downvoted for answering questions. But anyway, here's briefly what happened. I'm an only child and my parents always believed me to be this extremely high achiever I always tried my best to be. They were disappointed when they found out I was expecting, and while I felt I was ready to take responsibility, have my baby and take care of her, they felt I was too young and I had wasted their efforts by having a child while still in school, college, and ruining the reputation they had always had as good parents. I didn't really have a shot at winning in first place. My health matters were involved, which I don't think the internet needs to know, but that, and the fact that they had a better lawyer, worked in their favor. I tried and failed to get her custody. Them taking my baby was meant to be punishment to me for playing around instead of learning, but I see how much they love her. Their intention might have been mean at first, but they love and take good care of her, and I cannot deny that. I also did not include any of this in my post because, again, the conflict was between my daughter and I, not between her and my past. An NBSP. One more. An NBSP. I'm not American. I'm Indian and parents often have the upper hand here. An NBSP. Second update. Not sure exactly when, but within 13 hours of the original post. An NBSP. Thank you all for the comments and advice. I totally see the mistake I was about to make. I also accept my judgment, and I'm going to take responsibility for my thoughts, which I'm glad did not become actions. I spoke to my daughter a while ago and told her my side of things, how I genuinely feel about her and all this, and she listened. She didn't say much, but she admitted she doesn't really see me as a mother since she knew me as a distant sister first, so she didn't know what to do when her grandparents asked her to come over. She's not ready to call me mom yet. She doesn't think she ever will, and she assumed I would expect her to. She's also upset about me having kids over most of the time, as she feels they shouldn't get the right to be so close and clingy to me when she doesn't have that kind of freedom because, again, I'm more of a sister she sees once in a lifetime to her. Long story short, I realized it's going to be much harder than I ever imagined, but I will try my best going forth to make her feel loved and welcome. I understand I should keep my boundaries, but, in her words, I should stop walking on eggshells around her too. Which I will try to. She didn't promise to do the same, but she did promise to stop doing things that could potentially cause harm, which is a huge step. While on that note, I would also like to point out that it's quite mean of commenters to make assumptions on something they know nothing about. My past had nothing to do with the post, and I left it out, only adding brief answers to questions I got asked. We are all in different countries with different laws and views, and just because things go a certain way in your country doesn't mean they go that exact way in other countries. There are ways to express your view without SLT shaming and name calling. We all learn from mistakes, and I'm learning from mine. I appreciate your judgment on my actions, but I hope you can be kinder on other people's posts, regardless of whether they are TA or not. An NBSP. Reminder: I am not the original poster. All around sad story for Emo. Of course don't know the details, but keeping a kid away from her birth mother for more than a decade seems unnecessary cruel to me. Hope they are able to salvage some resemblance of a relationship. Well-made post. Regarding Oops saying her past was irrelevant. WTF? The life of her daughter is obviously relevant if she's pulling shenanigans to piss Oop off, lol. So the courts ruled in favor of the grandparents over the birth mother? Did they ever get into the whole appliance thing? Was it intentional? The conflict started when she came to stay over at my place 2 weeks ago to try and bond as mother and daughter. I'll be honest, I've always wanted this, but she didn't. She only came because my parents asked her to. This is so confusing. Oop wants to forge a mother-daughter bond but is willing to turf the daughter out of her home over leaving appliances on. Yes, it is a safety hazard, but it's not exactly something a mother can do. It seems they're working stuff out. But they met when the kid was 11 and now, at 16, she wants a mother-daughter bond? That's never going to happen. Just try to be closer as sisters. What horrible parents. Her parents sound horrible. It seems like Oop just expected that they'd get along and everything would be glitter and sunshine. But that's just not how life works. You can't force a relationship between two people who have such a complicated history. And to suddenly be allowed to step up as a mother? There's more to this, but overall it seems like OOP's expectations were too high. WTF if my parents took my child, thought the court that would be the last day they see me. Glad this had a nice ending. AITA is fine for clear-cut situations. But any time there's an ounce of gray area or nuance, the comments can be a trash fire. People are really vindictive and bloodthirsty there. So her country's law helped her parents kidnap her child. I posted on that. I took her side and lambasted the people who were chiding her. Unfortunate for her to believe she was still in the wrong despite the 16-year-old acting maliciously. The daughter is selfish. I think you're going to expect me to treat you like a mom, but I never will. But also you're not allowed to act like a mom to anyone else. We should really start using flares for different cultures, so we can skip certain posts easier. Clearly her past did matter because her daughter's misunderstanding of the adoption process was the root of the issue. B. The daughter sounds like a psychopath. I understand getting jealous of the kids who are close to your mom when you never got the opportunity to. I do not understand intentionally leaving the iron on hoping the kids get injured instead before attempting to talk to your parent. Jesus. I'm Indian. I read the post on AITA instead of here thinking, I'll bet she's Indian. It makes me a bit sad that I've heard so many stories similar to this one that I could figure out the culture involved.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.